The hardest truth is usually the right one. There is a reason we resist certain truths, not because they are false, but because they are uncomfortable. The truths that challenge us rarely arrive with a sense of relief. They arrive with friction. They ask us to let go of something, a belief, an expectation, a relationship, a version of ourselves. And because of that, our first instinct is often not acceptance. It is negotiation. We argue with what we already know. We search for different answers. We look for evidence that supports the outcome we want instead of the reality we have. But life has a way of bringing us back to the truth again and again and again until we are finally willing to face it. The hardest truth is usually the right one. We often know long before we admit it. One of the strangest things about being human is how often we already know. We know when something feels off. We know when a relationship has changed. We know when we have outgrown a situation. We know when a dream no longer fits. We know when someone is showing us exactly who they are. Yet we hesitate, not because we lack awareness, because awareness often demands action. And action can be frightening. So we stay, we wait, we hope, we explain, we rationalize, all while quietly knowing. Wishful thinking can be a powerful distraction. Sometimes the greatest obstacle to clarity is not confusion. It is hope placed in the wrong place. Hope that someone will change. Hope that circumstances will improve on their own. Hope that if we wait long enough, reality will become something different. Hope is beautiful when it inspires growth, but hope can become dangerous when it prevents us from seeing what is already true. There is a difference between believing in possibility and refusing to acknowledge reality. The first creates progress. The second creates suffering. The truth usually whispers first. Life rarely starts by shouting. It starts with a whisper, a feeling, a hesitation, a recurring thought, a concern you cannot quite shake, a quiet voice that says, pay attention. Most of us have experienced this, that moment when something did not sit right, that feeling in the pit of your stomach, that persistent awareness that something was not adding up. The problem is not that we fail to hear the whisper. The problem is that we often spend too much time convincing ourselves to ignore it. Denial feels safer than change. There is a reason people stay in situations they know are not working. The familiar feels safer than the unknown, even when the familiar hurts, even when the familiar limits us, even when the familiar keeps us stuck. Accepting a difficult truth means stepping into uncertainty. and uncertainty can be terrifying. At least with denial, we know what tomorrow looks like, but comfort and growth rarely occupy the same space. I learned that resistance is a clue. For years, I thought resistance meant I was headed in the wrong direction. Now I often see it differently. Resistance is frequently a clue. Not that something is wrong, that something matters. When we find ourselves defending a belief, excusing behavior, or repeatedly avoiding a reality, it is worth asking why. What are we afraid will happen if we accept the truth? What are we protecting? What are we refusing to let go of? Those questions often reveal more than the situation itself. The cost of avoiding the truth is higher than the truth itself. Most people focus on how painful the truth be. What they rarely consider is the cost of avoiding it. Avoiding the truth steals time. It drains energy. It delays healing. It keeps us attached to situations that no longer serve us. The truth may hurt, but avoidance creates its own kind of pain, a slower pain, a lingering pain, a pain that grows every day we refuse to face what we already know. Clarity often feels like loss before it feels like freedom. This is where many people get stuck. The moment they finally see clearly, they feel grief. They lose the fantasy. They lose the expectation. They lose the future they imagined. And that loss is real. But what comes after is equally real. Freedom. Freedom from confusion. Freedom from pretending. Freedom from carrying the weight of uncertainty. Clarity can feel painful in the beginning because it asks us to release what was never actually ours. Self-trust is built through honesty. Every time you acknowledge a difficult truth, you strengthen your relationship with yourself. You prove that you are willing to listen. You prove that you are willing to see clearly. You prove that your intuition matters. Self-trust is not built by always being right. It is built by being honest, especially when honesty is uncomfortable. The right truth will set you free, not immediately, not dramatically, not without emotion, but eventually. The right truth may break your heart. It may challenge your plans. It may force you to reconsider everything you thought you knew, but it also creates space. Space for growth, space for healing, space for something better aligned with who you are becoming. That is why the hardest truth is often the right one. Not because it is easy, because it leads somewhere worth going. Stop negotiating with what you already know. If there is something you have been avoiding, Consider this your invitation, not to judge yourself, not to force an answer, but to listen, to stop looking for a different truth, to stop waiting for reality to become more convenient, to stop negotiating with what you already know. Because the truth you are resisting may be the very thing trying to set you free. And the sooner you face it, the sooner your life can begin moving forward again. Slay reflection. S. See the truth. What reality have you been avoiding or negotiating with? L. Look at the resistance. What makes accepting the truth feel difficult? A. Acknowledge the cost. How has avoiding it affected your peace, energy, or growth? Why? Your next step. What is one honest step you can take toward acceptance today? Call to action. Join the conversation. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever discovered that the truth you resisted most was the one you needed most? Share your story in the comments. Let's cheer each other on. And if you know someone who might need this reminder, send this to them. Sometimes all we need is a nudge. I'm Carrie Genzel, reading a blog from stateofslay.com. Slay on.